Hey there. Thanks for taking the susceptibility quiz. And I want to tell you your score. Your score is a 10. Now, that's on a scale from 1 on the low end to 10 on the high end. And I relate to that because I'm a 10 as well. And what that means is that we have a brain that's especially susceptible to the pull of addictive foods. And I've sent you an email, it's already in your inbox, that explains more about that. But before you go off to run and check your email, I have a question for you. When someone has a serious weight problem and they commit, they decide that they're finally going to get that excess weight off and keep it off this time, what are their odds of success? I'm Professor Susan Pierce Thompson, and this is my area of expertise. I actually know the answer to this question, and there have been several studies done on it. In fact, they all converge at the same answer, and the statistic is 1%. Literally 1% will succeed at getting into a right-sized body. Now, here's the tragic thing. Of those successful 1%, almost all of them will regain that weight over the next few years. How is this possible? How are we spending $65 billion a year on weight loss products, solutions, diets, programs, and experiencing such epic levels of failure? We can't say that we don't want it bad enough. There is nothing that people want more. Losing weight is the #1 New Year's resolution every single year by far. And people are sick and tired of living in a body that doesn't feel right to them, sick and tired of especially the health complications, the medications that they're on that they know that they shouldn't be on, the achy joints, the growing older knowing that it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. People hate feeling unattractive, all those extra sizes of clothes in the closet because you never know what size you're going to be from one season to the next. No, people absolutely want to get that weight off. They just simply can't. Now, I don't know if you know this, but as a scientist, I'll tell you this is an interesting fact. There is not a single peer-reviewed, published scientific journal article that shows any weight loss program out there in the world taking a cohort of people, a subset of people, and helping them get down into a right-sized body and then stay there for any length of time. Not one published paper. These statistics are chilling, but I have to say, I completely relate to them. I was a chunky kid myself. I was overweight as a teenager, and I wanted that weight off so badly that I actually developed a drug problem when I discovered that certain drugs would help me control my eating. I don't recommend it. It's not a long-term strategy for success. But fast forward, I got clean and sober when I was 20. Then my food addiction really took off. By my mid-20s, I was obese. And I started this rigmarole of just trying everything on the market, just every last thing to get that weight off. It was some of the most frustrating, maddening years of my life. Meanwhile, I was successful in other areas. I went back to school, I got my education, I got my PhD in brain and cognitive sciences from one of the top 3 schools in the world, moved to Sydney, Australia to do a postdoc in psychology, came back to the States, became a tenured psychology professor, and for many, many years I taught a college course on the psychology of eating. And in the midst of all that, I did find a solution that worked, and I got into a right-sized body. That was over 14 years ago. I've been slender since then, and believe it or not, that puts me statistically in the top 1/100th of 1% of successful weight loss maintainers. And I'm part of a community now, a group of people who are together collectively beating the odds. Together as a group, we are more than 280 times more likely to get into a right-sized body and stay there than people following any other program, diet, or solution. And what are we doing? What are we doing that's making us so much more successful than anyone else following any other program or system? What we're doing is radically different than the conventional weight loss advice that you hear out there. And doesn't it make sense that it would have to be? If people are failing left, right, and center, following any kind of conventional advice about how to eat or how to cleanse or how to detox or macronutrients or low carb or low fat or whatever, if all that stuff is failing at such epic rates, wouldn't it make sense that if there was a community of people who are orders of magnitude more successful, they'd have to be doing something that really people haven't even heard of before? Well, that's exactly what we're doing. And let me tell you exactly the system we're following. We are taking food addiction seriously, the addictive foods that exist in our environment, and we are throwing up bright lines for them. Bright lines are clear, unambiguous boundaries that you just don't cross. In other words, we reject the notion of moderation, this idea that the one piece of pizza experiment is ever going to go well. That experiment never goes well, right? So we throw up a bright line for those foods that drive us crazy and that we end up overeating time after time after time. This is not a program that says, oh, eat whatever you want and you'll, jiggle your way into a right-sized body. You'll, eat packaged foods, eat shakes and bars and supplements and all this stuff, all this fake stuff and get into a right-sized body. No, we eat whole, real food. And we have bright lines for the addictive foods. Sugar, that means we don't eat sugar in any form. Nothing added to our food to make it sweeter. No honey, no agave, no stevia, no truvia, no juice, no dried fruit. Whole real fruit is fine. Any whole real food is fine. But nothing added to our food to make it sweeter, including artificial sweeteners, which research shows affect the brain just like straight up sugar. Also no flour. No any kind of flour, because it's the refining and processing of it that makes it affect the brain like a drug. So no stone ground flour, no oat flour, coconut flour, almond flour, any kind of flour. It's not the plant that it comes from. The plant is fine on its own. It's the refining and processing that does it. We also have a bright line for meals. That means we only eat at mealtime. No snacking, no grazing. Honestly, if you give yourself license to eat all day long, that's a license to eat too much food. So we eat 3 meals a day and we're able to automate those meals just like brushing our teeth. This is how eating becomes as streamlined and as habitual as some of the basic things that you do every day, like getting dressed, brushing your teeth, and boom, your food is in place. And the final bright line is for quantities. I actually recommend weighing and measuring food with a digital food scale. You'd be shocked at how structure produces freedom. Freedom from obsession, freedom from wondering if you've eaten the right amount or not. People who say, I don't want to measure my food, I say, try it for a few days, and they write me things like, Susan, I love measuring my food so much. If I experienced my house burning down around me, I would grab my cat and my digital food scale and run out the door. You'd be surprised. It's amazing to weigh and measure your food and experience how structure produces freedom. And finally, we're rejecting the notion that you've got to exercise to lose weight. Research is very clear on this. There is not a correlation between exercise and weight loss. However, there is a correlation between the food that you put in your mouth and weight loss. And here's the thing, when you're burning up your willpower getting to the gym, you're actually burning up the willpower that's going to help you set up rock star habits for your food that are absolutely necessary to get into a right-sized body and stay there year in and year out. Now, once your weight is off, by all means go back to the gym. It's a great method for weight maintenance and weight control. It's not a good method for weight loss. Weight loss is a time to rest. Weight loss is exhausting, and it's a time to put your bunny slippers on. So we do things very, very differently here at Brightline Eating. And now I have a question for you. Could you do that for just 14 days? I dare you. I double dog dare you to take the 14-day Food Freedom Bright Line Eating Challenge. And it might surprise you that that's what it takes to get into a right-sized body and live there for the rest of your life. But I'm not daring you to do this for the rest of your life. I'm daring you to do this for 14 days. And what's the investment? The investment is tiny. As a matter of fact, your grit and your determination need to be big for 14 days, but the financial investment is tiny. It's just $29. Now, to put that in context, the people who've done this for real, the Bright Line Eating boot campers who've invested in an 8-week program, have ponied up $500 to do this for 8 weeks. And $29 for a 2-week program is 77% off that. If you look at $500 over 8 weeks, that's $124 for a 2-week course. And instead of $124, I'm just asking you to invest $29. I don't know about you, but I have the feeling that I could do just about anything for 14 days. So the choice is yours. Do you have it in you to live for 2 weeks like the world's most elite weight loss success stories are living right now? If you do, click the button. I'll get you started right away, and I'll see you on the inside.